Part 139. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1391. Wu Yu escaped the control of the ancient Ruo God Lord very easily. The more than 400 immortals of the ancient giant spirit god clan set up a net of heaven and earth, but they could not stop the Monkey King's somersault cloud magical power. Wu Yu has made great progress in these four magical powers. Although he is still using the magical powers he has learned before, he uses them completely differently. For example, with the shape-shifting phantom, he can control his position better and very accurately. He can even appear in a narrow gap. This time, he appeared outside the encirclement, and then he performed it several times in a row, and he was far away from the star he was in before. Looking back, he could no longer see the ancient giant spirit god clan. With the roaring sky dog, and having remembered my smell, I'm afraid he can find me no matter where I go. It's going to be troublesome next. Wu Yu had a rough look at the memory of the ancient Jiang god lord, and roughly knew that there was a magical object like the roaring sky dog, but he didn't know that the ancient Ruo god lord actually brought it in. Although he got into trouble, Wu Yu was not too nervous. How could he not offend others when he came here to compete for the immortal king seal? Wu Yu walked further and further away. But at this moment, he suddenly remembered something. Gu Mo camp. Although I killed the person, if that guy is careful and worried that I would escape, he would definitely attack Gu Mo camp. After all, there are so many of them. This is more depressing than Wu Yu being chased by the roaring sky dog. He immediately sent a communication fairy talisman to the Gu Mo camp. If I had known about this roaring sky dog, I would not have separated from them. The content of Wu Yu's communication fairy talisman is, Gu Ruo Shenjun is eyeing us, hide quickly, I will find you. He guessed that Gu Ruo Shenjun could find him with the roaring sky dog, and obviously he could also find Gu Mo camp with the roaring sky dog. If a large group of them now turn to chase Gu Mo camp, then Wu Yu must find Gu Mo camp faster than them. In this vast and endless galaxy, as long as Wu Yu finds the ancient Mo camp, they will not be able to do anything to Wu Yu. Even the ancient Ruo god can't do anything. After sending out the communication fairy talisman, Wu Yu was waiting for their response, but what made him depressed was that he didn't get a response for a long time. This shows that the situation is worse than Wu Yu thought, and it is obvious that the other party's mind is more meticulous than him. Of course, not many people know the horror of the god Xiao Tian dog. And the ancient Ruo god didn't even let the ancient Jiang god know. At least half an hour, Wu Yu sent the communication fairy talisman several times, but there was no response, which almost meant that something had happened. He stopped because he knew that the ancient Ruo god had caught his handle. If the handle was caught, it would be difficult to think of anything now. Now the only thing to be thankful for is the ancient giant spirit clan, who still thought he was the Chifeng immortal lord. Sure enough, not long after, the ancient giant spirit clan's mighty team of more than 400 people appeared in the starry sky and came towards Wu Yu. With the roaring sky dog, they were afraid that they could grasp Wu Yu's position at any time. In this way, Wu Yu was afraid that he would not be able to stay in one place for a long time to practice. However, the ancient Ruo god should have a bigger goal and should not pursue me relentlessly. There will be no problem in the future. The problem is how to get through the current difficulties. The other party came slowly and all their attitudes showed that they had Wu Yu's handle. Chifeng immortal lord, this ability to escape is amazing to me, but why didn't you escape this time? The ancient Ruo god came with a strong man and came in a mighty force. In a blink of an eye, he was in front of Wu Yu. This time they didn't even surround Wu Yu. The ancient god had an indifferent expression and was not impulsive. He was obviously not an easy character to deal with. The people around him were all rough and impatient, with the aura of ancient beasts. They were like a group of beasts crushing towards Wu Yu, and their momentum had already caused absolute suppression. Wu Yu observed the people around him, and then said, "I'm afraid that the ancient god has caught my handle. How can I escape?" The other group of people laughed, and someone said, "This immortal is not stupid, but smart. He didn't run away in the face of us. He is really affectionate and righteous. The young master is wise and knows to restrict him. In this way, Gu Jiang can rest in peace. Gu Jiang, it's quite a grief to die in the hands of such a person, but if he didn't like to act alone, he wouldn't. Let's not talk about the past. The key is to avenge him, which is also an explanation to the two god kings. They talked a lot, and also proved that the people of Gumoying were already in their hands. At present, in order to capture Wu Yu, they naturally cannot kill anyone, but there are many people in the ancient Mo camp, and Wu Yu is also worried that they will kill a few people first. After all, even if there is only one person, it can pose a threat to Wu Yu. The ancient Ruo Divine Lord is a straightforward person. He did not let Wu Yu be nervous for too long. He turned around and said to a heroic, cold, and wild Divine Lord behind him, "Gu Divine, show him." Yes, young master, the ancient Ruo Divine Lord was waiting for this moment. She offered a black flute-type creation fairy weapon in her hand, named Ancient Language Magic Flute, which is a top-level creation fairy weapon. At this time, the ancient Ruo Divine Lord smiled at the ancient Ruo Divine Lord, and then said to Wu Yu, "Watch it carefully." In the hole of the ancient language magic flute, a ball of light suddenly popped out. In the ball of light, everyone in the ancient Mo camp was basically in a very embarrassed state, and some were even seriously injured. They were trapped in it and could not move. They could only see the outside, but could not communicate with the outside. When they looked around and saw Wu Yu, they obviously understood something. Although they didn't know Chifeng Xianjun, they probably knew that Wu Yu could change in many ways. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. They understood even more that they had become Wu Yu's handle now. Without allowing them to speak, Gu Ru Shenjun said to Wu Yu, "I'm always too lazy to talk nonsense. You and I both know that these people are very important to you. Next, I'm going to attack you. If you fight back once or dodge once, I will kill one person. There are 8 people in total, and you can also choose to dodge 8 times. My purpose is also very simple. I won't kill you. You killed my friend, but for me, what's more important is that the two gods have lost their beloved sons, so I will trap you, take you away, and hand you over to the two gods to deal with them personally. They are all accomplices and will be dealt with by the two gods personally, but at least they can live for a few more decades. And if you want to resist, then you can escape, but they will all die here." He was really straightforward. He did not promise to release Gu Moying after catching Wu Yu. As he promised, he would imprison all 9 of them and send them to the two god kings. This way, they could live for at least a few decades. He knew that Wu Yu would definitely take advantage of these few decades of opportunity instead of letting Gu Moying die on the spot. "Have you considered it?" asked the god of Guruo. Wu Yu knew clearly from the conversation with him that this person was definitely a man of his word. He devoured the god of Gujiang and knew about the god of Guruo. He was really straightforward and said what he meant. As for the reason, it was obviously because he was high above and didn't bother to get too entangled with Wu Yu. His goal this time was the 10th grade Immortal King Seal. He might not even look at the 9th grade Immortal King Seal. This was the difference in status. He didn't bother to waste too much time on Wu Yu. So after he finished his request, he took action directly. Perhaps it was out of recognition of Wu Yu's strength. During this attack, what he refined was no worse than the 9-colored Chaos Thorn, a real Taixu artifact. Taixushan. Wu Yu knew this Taixu artifact, and this memory came from the ancient Jiang god. The Taixu artifact that appeared above Wu Yu's head was the Taixushan, which looked like a long-handled crystal hammer. The long handle was the same height as his body. The ancient Jiang god held it tightly with both hands, and it was extremely heavy. The surface of the crystal hammer was like a mirror. Looking inside, it seemed that there was a vast world inside the hammer. When swinging, the galaxy changed, and the sky and the earth changed color. Buzz. The other party looked indifferent, and smashed the Taixu artifact Taixushan towards Wu Yu's head. His eyes were as sharp as spikes. Behind him, the god of ancient flute was eager to try. She had already chosen her target and was ready. The target was Yang Wenlin. Once Wu Yu dodged or resisted, then according to the god of ancient flute, she could kill him and send Yang Wenlin to the west. She must not be a good person if she hangs out with a group of men. The god of ancient flute looked down on him. Maybe she has had affairs with many of them. Killing her first will probably be very painful. To be honest, facing the Taixuanation of the god of ancient flute, it is obvious that no one in the entire Taixu immortal road will be able to dodge or resist, so the god of ancient flute was fully prepared. She thought that if Wu Yu really had a good relationship with this group of people and was really courageous, 2 or 3 of them might die. He would only bear the Taixuanation when he was really scared. Now Wu Yu could see the crystal hammer Taixiantian hitting his forehead when he looked up. That was the Taixu artifact. With this guy's power comparable to that of an immortal king, what would happen if he hit his head? Wu Yu couldn't think. He had seen that the ancient flute god had already set his sights on Yang Wenlin, and his murderous intention had already emerged. But Yang Wenlin looked at him miserably. She must be very entangled, but they all still hoped that Wu Yu could leave here decisively. It's my fault that I didn't protect you well. I should bear it. So, he was not prepared to resist at all. At this time, he was seen to be calm, and with his immortal fighting Buddha world realm physical head, he directly withstood the Taixu artifact. Boom! What Wu Yu did was just to gather the power of his physical world and the power of the immortal world that he searched for on his forehead, and forcibly withstood the hammer. That shock can be said to be unprecedented. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1392. Is this Jifeng immortal lord dead? The faces of the ancient giant spirit god clan were shocked, and their hearts were shaken. They really didn't expect that Wu Yu could be so tough, and he actually didn't take any action or dodge, and forcefully withstood the attack of the ancient Holmium god. For example, the ancient flute god was already ready to kill Yang Wenlin, but she almost made a move. Finally, she stopped her hand in time, and she was afraid for a while. If she did not carry out the orders of the ancient Holmium god accurately, she would definitely lose points. How stupid are you to trade your own life for the lives of these rabble? The ancient flute god felt contempt in his heart. At this time, the ancient Holmium god put away the Taixiantian. Everyone thought that Wu Yu had been shattered into pieces, and they were completely disappointed. After all, they knew very well how terrifying the ancient Holmium god's strike was. But they never expected that Wu Yu's brain would not blossom after he withstood the heavy blow. His head was only slightly cracked, but it soon began to heal, and his body was able to stabilize in the void. The shock of Taixiantian was indeed terrifying. Until this moment, Wu Yu was still dizzy, and the whole world was turned upside down. If the opponent continued to attack several times, Wu Yu could indeed be killed. You can withstand the frontal impact of the Taixu divine artifact. It makes sense for the ancient Jiang god lord to be defeated in your hands in a daze. I heard the majestic voice of the ancient Holmium god lord. Then, while Wu Yu was still dizzy, a huge world enveloped him. Wu Yu knew that he should be trapped in a place like the inside of the floating life tower. Then someone was heard laughing. Congratulations, young master, for catching the murderer. Congratulations, young master, you are amazing. A flattering sound. Young master, what should we do with these people? This seemed to be the voice of the ancient flute god. Bring it back to the 2 god kings together and hand it over to the 2 god kings for processing. Hearing this, Wu Yu breathed a sigh of relief. He knew the purpose of the ancient Holmium god. He wanted to capture both Wu Yu and Gumoying and leave them to the two god kings after they left. After all, this is the fate of the ancient Jiang god, so I can't blame him. If his relationship with the ancient Jiang god is really good, then he may not be able to bear it until then and just kill someone to vent his anger. This approach now only shows that he is smarter and more tactful. Of course, it also gives Wu Yu time. After a while, he finally woke up and the world in front of him became clear. He discovered that the world around him was a mirror. Looking through the mirror, he could see the vast starry sky outside, and inside was a white world with crystal-like light shining everywhere. Wu Yu therefore understood that he was being captured. The ancient Holmium god was trapped in the Taixu artifact Taixuanation. The surroundings were vast, and it seemed difficult to get out of here. He was actually interesting now. He imprisoned Lord Xuanhuan in the Fusion Tower, and Lord Ancient Holmium imprisoned Wu Yu in the Taixuan Tian. Just stay inside with peace of mind. When the fight for the Immortal King Seal is over, you can die in front of the two God Kings. The ancient Holmium god said. Wu Yu did not respond to him. He saw that although the ancient flute god was reluctant at this time, he still trapped everyone in the ancient Mo camp in the magic flute of ancient language, and Wu Yu could no longer see them. Wu Yu observed the surrounding space with his fiery eyes and tried everywhere. The ancient Holmium god made a mistake. With my current level of proficiency in somersaulting, this Tai Xiantian can't trap me. I can go out directly. Wu Yu knew it in his heart. However, he could not escape directly. For one thing, after escaping, the ancient Holmium god lord still had to use the roaring sky dog to look for him. What's more important is that as soon as Gumo camp is in their hands, Wu Yu will not be able to escape safely. Fortunately, the other party's imprisonment does not affect my ability to continue helping Nangong Wei. He could still enter the floating life tower. In fact, for the convenience of use, the most important immortal artifacts or Taixu artifacts are generally not put into the Sumuru bag. Instead, they are reduced in size and kept close to their body so that they can be sacrificed as quickly as possible. Especially for the immortal Lord of the Nine Realms, their inner world has been completed, so it is safer to hide many items directly in the inner world. However, weapons such as Tai Xiantian are still hidden directly outside, in the ancient Holmium god. When an enemy encounters his chest, it will instantly enlarge and be held in his hand to fight. The ancient Holmium god did not close Wu Yu's sight. In this way, Wu Yu could probably see their itinerary. They had put Wu Yu's affairs aside and continued the task of searching for the Immortal King's seal. Now, with the roaring sky, if a dog takes the lead, it will obviously be more efficient. The ancient Holmium god's next step was equivalent to completely forgetting Wu Yu in the Taixuan heaven. This also shows that this is his contempt for Wu Yu. In this heavenly palace, even if Wu Yu seems to be very close to him now, but the future of two people cannot be the same. The only opponent in the eyes of the ancient Holmium god lord is Mouji, and others such as Siming Xianjun, Zhao Yuanchen, and others may not be able to catch his eye. It seems that we can only wait for a chaotic opportunity. Wu Yu was ready. He was confident of escaping from Taixuanation, but it was simply impossible to take away the ancient flute god's magic flute in front of so many powerful people, so he had to do it at the right time. Wu Yu can only pray now that this opportunity will appear. After all, the ancient Holmium god's goal is the 10th grade Immortal King Seal, which must be an unimaginably dangerous test. In the next time, Wu Yu simply entered the Fusion Tower. The ancient Holmium god didn't care about him anyway. Inside, Wu Yu had more time. He spent all of it on cultivation and helping Nangong Wei. Now, although he was imprisoned, he was still paying attention to the developments outside, waiting for a chaotic opportunity to appear. If this opportunity did not appear in the remaining 70 years, the life of Gumo camp would be in real danger. When Wu Yu first came to Chang'anshan, It was a fragile time. Without their care, it would be difficult for him to get the immortal king seal to enter. And here he was the one who caused them trouble, so no matter what, Wu Yu couldn't let them die for him, otherwise he would have trouble sleeping and eating. However, unless they make a major discovery, the team of the ancient giant spirit gods will always be complete. In that case, Wu Yu would be unlikely to have a chance. Next, in the long years, what he saw was the efficiency of their ancient giant spirit clan in seizing the immortal king's seal. The roaring sky dog was full of spirituality, even more than Wan He Cat, and could even smell the immortal king's seal. Therefore, their entire team is indeed accurate in every move. In just 10 years, they have received a huge amount of goods, while others may not be able to get an immortal king seal. On this day, they even met the Eternal Phoenix clan. Young master, Lord Bai Mofeng of the Eternal Phoenix clan wants to see you. Someone came to report. Let him come over. God Lord Gu Holmium nodded. So the ancient giant spirit clan got out of the way, and a group of immortal Phoenix clan came flying towards them, headed by Baimo Feng Jun. Baimo Feng Jun looked very pale, and he respectfully said to the ancient Holmium God Lord, I have seen the ancient Holmium God Lord. The ancient Holmium God Lord was very straightforward and said, the Eternal Phoenix clan is so famous, why did you come to me? Where are you, Fire Dance Phoenix Lord? Lord Baimo Feng lowered his head and said, I am very ashamed. I came to see Lord Ancient Holmium today because I really have something to ask for, and I have something to do with Lord Huahuang. How do you say this? Ancient Holmium God Lord said calmly. In fact, he already knew about Lord Huahuang. Baimo Feng Jun looked depressed and said, when we were competing for a 9th grade Immortal King's Seal, we were plotted by an immortal lord called Suayu Immortal Lord. He took the opportunity to snatch the 9th grade Immortal King seal and kidnapped him with a trick. He was so audacious that he died a good death. Now that we have no news about Lord Huahuang, we are very frightened. This is a great shame for us. Ancient Holmium Divine Lord was shocked and said, such a big thing has happened. This Snowland Immortal Lord is so audacious and seeks death. Doesn't he know that Yuanzu Huangdi loves Lord Huahuang the most? In this way, this Snowland Immortal Lord death is certain. Baimo Feng Jun said, I don't know what this person is thinking. He is just looking for death. I heard that the ancient Holmium God has a roaring dog next to him, so I came to ask the ancient Holmium God if he can help us find the Dao Fire Dance Phoenix. Sir, if you can find it, I will be very grateful. I have the item of Lord Huahuang that can help Xiao Tian Dog remember the taste. They knew the roaring sky dog very well, but they definitely didn't know that the Fire Dance Phoenix Lord was right next to them. Of course there is no problem. We have been friends with the Eternal Phoenix clan for generations. This kind of work is our responsibility. We each have our own messenger talismans. If there is any news, I will definitely inform you, Ancient Holmium God Lord said. In fact, Lord Bai Mo Feng wanted them to follow the Ancient Holmium Divine Lord and let the Ancient Holmium Divine Lord search for Lord Huahuang. After all, they were of course extremely anxious, but the Ancient Holmium Divine Lord said it directly and euphemistically. After all, each of them they all have secrets, so it would be inconvenient for them to follow the Immortal Phoenix clan. Moreover, he is just a favorite at most, so it is naturally impossible for him to regard finding Lord Fire Dance Phoenix as his top priority. Baimo Feng Jun wanted them to be their top priority, but this was certainly unrealistic. It was good enough that the other party promised to help. Baimo Feng Jun knew this. He quickly thanked the ancient Holmium God and let the roaring dog smell it, and the ancient Holmium God began to see off the guests. As soon as Xiao Chao finds out about Lord Huahuang, I will inform you immediately. Lord Huahuang is smart and nothing will happen to him. Don't worry. Thank you. Thank you so much. Baimo Feng Jun and the other Immortal Phoenix clan members left. Not bad, there is one less competitor. However, recently, those ordinary immortals have produced a lot of talents, such as the Chifeng Immortal Lord and the Snowland Immortal Lord. The ancient Holmium Divine Lord smiled. Young master, won't you help them find it? Let nature take its course. If you encounter someone, just give them a favor. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1393. Wu Yu could also hear and see the situation outside. If Bai Mo Feng Jun and the others knew that the Huo Wu Huang Jun they were looking for was here, they would probably collapse. After they left, although Xiao Tian Dog remembered the smell, he didn't pay much attention to it. Otherwise, with the Tai Xian Tian and the Fu Sheng Tower between him, he might still be able to smell the smell. Next, the ancient giant spirit clan continued their original goal, while obtaining more Immortal King Seals, looking for the 10th grade Immortal King Seal from the Jade Emperor. This is the ultimate goal. The ancient Ru Shenjun didn't do much in the other Immortal King Seal tests. Even if there were people competing, they basically fled when they saw the arrival of the ancient giant spirit clan. Their power was almost the first and second in this Taixu Immortal Road. In addition, the giant spirit clan itself was violent and arrogant, and no one dared to provoke them. Time passed. There were more than 70 years left, and more than 30 years had passed in the blink of an eye. Wu Yu didn't have a good opportunity to get out of their control. Fortunately, during this period of time, in the 3,000 years in the floating life tower, his most important goal was to help Nangong Wei. Now, Nangong Wei's consciousness is gradually growing, while the consciousness of the Fire Dance Phoenix King has been sleeping and broken, with scars all over. Every time Nangong Wei's consciousness grows, the consciousness of the Fire Dance Phoenix King will decrease a little. Although the growth time is very slow, at least it is moving forward. In the past 3,000 years, Nangong Wei has had countless times to control her body, but under Wu Yu's warning, she still hid behind obediently and didn't let the Fire Dance Phoenix King find out. To the Fire Dance Phoenix King, she is now a broken, split, and ownerless consciousness. She wants to merge again to make herself complete, but Wu Yu has no chance to wake her up. Are you crazy? Every time she wakes up, the Fire Dance Phoenix King will collapse. It's not yet, the frequency will be higher next time. Wu Yu's words made her even more collapsed. In 3,000 years, Nangong Wei continued to grow stronger, from 1/3 of the opponent, to 1/2 now, and continued to grow. If she could grow as strong as the opponent, then it would be basically the same. The rest of the time, Wu Yu was immersed in cultivation. He wanted to continue to improve his realm, but with his current knowledge, it took 3,000 years, and the fifth path in the Immortal World realm was difficult to integrate into the Immortal World core. Wu Yu could understand the difficulties of other immortals in cultivation. Now the path of the 9 realms Immortal King is of limited help to him. At least in terms of realm improvement, he has fallen into stagnation. Next, he can only improve slowly unless there is an Immortal King to devour. In 3,000 years, there were a total of 2 improvements, one in the physical world realm, which was promoted to the 5th level and formed 5 world sources. This made his physical world power more majestic and turbulent, and his combat power was certainly stronger, but it was still not a qualitative change. There is another huge progress in the direction of magical powers. After the Lawfree clone had millions of clones, Wu Yu began to study the fire eyes and golden pupils. During these 3,000 years of training, he reached the 8th level, and the flowing fire and clear mirror of the fire eyes and golden pupils was improved again. The 8th level is called Golden Fire and Heaven and Earth Furnace, which is a bit like the improvement of the Fire Absolute Fairyland. Between the eyes, one is the Furnace of Heaven, which means that the entire heaven is turned into a furnace of flames and burned, and the other is the Furnace of the Earth, which means that the entire hell is turned into a furnace of flames. Endless flames burn and bake, and everything can be melted and burned cleanly. This golden fire and heaven and earth furnace can be a great help to Wu Yu's battle. After all, among the four great magical powers, the fire eyes and golden pupils are actually the real attack. Wu Yu is not in a hurry. There are still about 40 years. He is waiting for the chaos of the ancient giant spirit clan while waiting for Nangong Wei to defeat the Fire Dance Phoenix King. However, before he could wait for the chaos of the ancient giant spirit clan, he waited for a strange thing. One day, Wu Yu was still practicing in the floating life tower. Suddenly, he felt a familiar breath outside. This breath existed in his sumuru bag. He immediately opened his eyes and came to the outside of the floating life tower. Outside, the ancient giant spirit clan was quickly rushing down under the leadership of the howling sky dog. They were inside a huge star. It was dim and empty. At this time, more than 400 gods of the ancient giant spirit clan burst out with dazzling light, sweeping all around, making this dark space shiny. The surrounding rocks were very clear. The breath of ghosts and gods. Wu Yu could feel that there was something under the core of the star. He felt like he had returned to the star where he killed the ancient Jiang god, but that star was much smaller than this one. The howling sky dog barked, very excited, and rushed headfirst into the depths. There is the breath of ghosts and gods, gather together, don't move, Guruo Shenjun ordered. The deeper he went, the stronger Wu Yu's feeling became. He was beside Guruo Shenjun, staring at the depths, thinking, could it be that there is a gate of hell in this depth? So far, his clones are still adventuring in Xuanhuan hell. Each experience is different, but they can't come back anyway. There are hundreds of clones, and several of them died in battle. After all, he is basically devouring immortals now, so his clones are naturally immortals. When the team of ancient giant spirits and gods quickly approached, Wu Yu discovered that there was a bronze ring at the core of the star. It was the same bronze ring that exuded the aura of ghosts, gods, and hell, attracting people here. Another gate to hell, Wu Yu had one on his body, so he was very concerned about it. At this time, it is no longer about cultivating, but about how they will deal with this door of hell. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. What's this? More than 400 people surrounded the area. Gu Yin, lead people to seal off the surrounding area and prohibit outsiders from entering and exiting. God Lord Gu, who looked puzzled. He immediately ordered people to seal off the surrounding area, and then he could concentrate on research. Yes. The bald god took the order, led dozens of people, and began to use the immortal artifact of creation to completely seal off the surrounding area. The ancient Holmium god and others were surrounded by this bronze ring. The ancient Holmium god reached out and touched it, and then asked, "Does anyone know this thing? Why is there the aura from hell?" No one answered for a long time. Everyone looked at each other in confusion. After a few more glances, the answer was the same. Don't even know. The ancient Holmium god was surprised, and he began to investigate. Young master, I think it may be a door, but I don't know where it leads. Could it be the entrance to the 10th grade Immortal King Seal, said the ancient flute god. The ancient Holmium god held his chin and said, it is possible, but the entrance to the 10th grade Immortal King Seal will definitely not be so obvious. The Holy Emperor Dongfang Chang'an said that this time it is very likely that our group of people will not be able to do it at all. We can't find the entrance to the 10th grade Immortal King Seal. It will definitely not be easy for us to find, but I also think it is a door. Then let's go in and have a look, a god asked. Ancient Holmium god lord said, then what should we do if it leads to a place that leaves the Taegzu Immortal Road? Wouldn't it be ridiculous? In everything, we must be careful. If you have any ideas, please tell me. With more people, there is more power, and there are more ideas. The ancient Holmium god is willing to accept everyone's whims and whims. Someone soon said, I have a clone. I can use the clone to go in and see where it leads. The ancient Holmium god clapped his hands and said, okay, that's it. As the ancient proverb says, it's up to you, God. Yes, young master. The ancient god lord was very happy to be able to serve the young master and perform such an important task. He quickly stood up among the envious eyes of everyone, created a clone that was exactly like him, and without saying a word, entered the gate of hell. And then everyone looked at the true form of the ancient god. How? The ancient god frowned tightly, and after a while, he said in great depression, young master, I have lost contact with the clone, which means the clone is dead. He really wanted to cry without tears. Losing such an important clone like this, his combat effectiveness would be greatly reduced. Everyone was shocked, which showed that this door was actually very dangerous. Some people couldn't help but retreat. This thing is so gloomy, could it lead to hell? Someone said nervously. 10,000 hells? It's really possible. The ancient Holmium god was a little displeased and said, stop talking nonsense. How can there be a door to hell on Taegzu Immortal Road? This is where we compete for the Immortal King's seal. Everyone shut up. Then, how should the young master deal with it? Asked the ancient flute god. Put it away first. The ancient Holmium god put the gate of hell into a special sumuru bag and took it away. When the gate of hell disappeared, the stars recovered instantly, and the breath from hell soon disappeared. Nothing left. Walk. They were pressed for time. 40 years were left, more than half of which had passed. They had to search for the 10th grade Immortal King seal among their targets more quickly. The gate of hell has been taken care of by the ancient Holmium god. As long as he has time, he will definitely study it. Wu Yu can also see it, and maybe the other party can study something else. Wu Yu's outlaw clone was obviously stronger than the opponent's clone. After entering the underworld, Wu Yu could still contact the clone. The ancient giant spirit clan left the star, and Wu Yu also planned to return to the floating life tower to practice. But I didn't expect that when these more than 400 god kings came out of the stars, there were more than 400 people outside, waiting for them. These people were all orthodox immortals, and the majestic momentum of the entire team was no worse than that of the ancient giant spirit gods. The ancient Holmium god narrowed his eyes and said, it has been 60 years, and I finally met the devil fairy. I'm glad to meet you. I'm glad to meet you. So far, there were 326 new people added the day before yesterday and 188 new people yesterday, which is only about 500, which is too far away from 1,500. Modify it, madman. 1,000 will break out into 5 chapters. There are only 6 chapters in 2,000. 3,000 or 7 chapters. Everyone, please work harder, until 12 o'clock tonight. Madman is still trying to save the manuscript for tomorrow's outbreak. For those who haven't followed, please pay attention. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1394. It turns out that this team is exactly the team from the palace of the King of the Kingdom, and the leader is Mouji, the daughter of the King of the Kingdom, Malihai. Wu Yu was not in a hurry to go back, and finally saw the Mo concubine again. This woman was indeed unparalleled in beauty, with black hair and black eyes, ethereal, and an inaccessible indifference. She was aloof and confounded all living beings. Everywhere she looked is perfect. A black cat lay lazily in Mouji's arms. It was very noble. It was the cat that Wu Yu had planned to give to his lazy companion. When the black cat saw the roaring dog next to the ancient Holmium god, its fur suddenly exploded, becoming extremely alert and full of hostility. These two groups are the two largest in the Taegzu Immortal Road this time. They meet head-on here. As competitors, but their parents have a very good relationship. It is quite interesting. The team behind MOUG are all disciples of the Heavenly King Chiguo. Many of them are geniuses selected by the Heavenly King Chiguo in various heavenly palaces. They are given training resources and allowed to work for the Heavenly King Chiguo. Compared with the ancient giant spirit gods, they have no such a powerful body and energy, but with a variety of methods and gathering various types of geniuses, the entire team, headed by MOUG, is more balanced, so they probably obtained quite a lot of immortal king seals. MOUG stared at the ancient Holmium god and said, "Which door has the god got?" The ancient Holmium god nodded and said, "Does the demon fairy know what the mystery is in this door?" MOUG said, "If I request it, can the ancient god Lord Holmium give me this door?" The ancient Holmium god was stunned. He smiled, shook his head, and said, "I can't refuse the beauty's request, but if it involves the seal of the 10th grade immortal king, it's really hard for me to forgive you." He is not a fool. He just got something, and MOUG wants it. As long as she wants it, it further proves that this thing is of great use. He is not a fool, just giving it away to please the beauty. MOUG said, "Since the ancient Holmium god refused to send me away, because of the special circumstances, I will not hold back and tell my guess. After all, if everyone hides this grand gathering, it is very likely that everyone will, miss. Want to hear the details?" MOUG was very magnanimous and said, "To be honest, I have got 2 such doors. There is a third one in this star that I want to get. It's a pity that you got there first. Do you know where this door leads to?" The ancient Holmium god said, "I just got it, and I haven't had time to study it urgently. Please ask the demon fairy to clarify my doubts." MOUG said, "After many attempts, I am sure that this door leads to the underworld." The ancient Holmium god looked a little shocked and said, "No way, Taegzu Immortal Road, how can there be a door to the underworld hell? If we accidentally go there, wouldn't we end up in that hell? I don't know what we can do after entering. Come back." MOUG said, "Of course not. The Lord Shen finds it strange, and I also find it strange. Thinking about it from another way, if there is a 10th grade immortal king seal, the designer's purpose is often the strangest and most incredible place. Isn't it more interesting? Maybe it has something to do with the 10th grade immortal king seal." Ancient Holmium god Lord was surprised and said, "Your Excellency, you are saying that the 10th grade immortal king seal may have been set up by the Jade Emperor in the underworld hell? You want us to go to the underworld hell to fight for it?" MOUG said, "This is just my guess, and I think that if you can reach it directly, it must not be that simple. I think about Taegzu Immortal Road, there must be many such gates to hell. If we can gather them all, get up, maybe there will be other changes. It may not be to the underworld, but these gates to hell may be the keys to the 10th grade immortal king seal." The ancient Holmium god looked shocked, and it took him a long time to react. He looked at MOUG in confusion and said, "You can guess so many things, why do you still tell me? I am your competitor now. There are more competitors like me, right? There's no benefit to you, right?" MOUG smiled helplessly and said, "I am helpless too. First, you took away a gate of hell. If it is in your hands, it is basically impossible for me to get it. Second, I guess that this 10th grade immortal king seal there are many tests, it is even more difficult for our team to reach the end by ourselves. Thirdly, according to the design, once the test of the 10th grade immortal king seal is started, the movement will be huge and many people will be attracted to enter. There is a high probability that Your Excellency Juye can go in. I think that in this case, we might as well work together to find the gate of hell, and then we can sum it up. In the end, the 10th grade immortal king seal will be assigned to each of us based on our own abilities. I think the Lord Shen definitely doesn't want us to miss the 10th grade immortal king seal, leave it to people 5,000 years from now. The last sentence was their most important thought. They would rather work together than come in these 100 years and not even be able to open the test of the 10th grade Immortal King Seal, leaving it to people 5,000 years later. Joining forces with the ancient Holmium God Lord, the test possibility of unlocking the 10th grade Immortal King Seal is greatly increased. The most difficult thing now is the step, not the competition with each other. This shows that MOUG has a long-term vision. If other people thought of this, they would definitely be secretive, let alone tell their guesses to an existence like the ancient Holmium God Lord. And she felt that only by uniting the top forces in the Tegzu Immortal Road could they start the test of the 10th grade Immortal King Seal. After all, the ancient Holmium God had already obtained a gate to hell. After hearing this, the ancient Holmium God had a gloomy expression on his face. He thought for a long time and said, "The devil fairy is so courageous. I am ashamed of myself." Moug said, "It's not like that, it's just that I know myself better." The Jade Emperor established this 10th grade Immortal King Seal, and he certainly didn't want it to be obtained the first time. Our chances are already relatively low. If we don't share some ideas, I'm afraid the chances will be even lower. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I admire it. Gu Ru Shenjun still praised. It's just a guess that the possibility is not particularly high. Shenjun, please don't bother me. Moug smiled faintly. She changed the subject and said, I heard that there are 3 types of 9th grade Immortal King Seals. The god and I each got one of them. The other one is said to be obtained by a man called Snowland Immortal King. The god has Roaring Sky Dog, so why doesn't he chase the Snowland Immortal King? It would be much easier to get the 9th grade Immortal King Seal from him. Guru God narrowed his eyes and asked, the Eternal Phoenix also begged you? Moug nodded and said, Huo Wu Huangjun is still young, so pitiful. Guru God said, I can't do anything about it. The god has no interest in the 9th grade Immortal King Seal, right? The demon fairy is the same. However, if the Snowland Immortal King comes to my door, I will not let him go. And now, I will work with the demon fairy to find more of these gates of hell as soon as possible, so that the two of us can have a chance. Guru God was very straightforward and did not hide it. Moug nodded, and she said, in that case, then we'll say goodbye here. The two did not say more. There were only 40 years left, and they both knew that time was precious. By the way, when the Lord God gets the 2 gates of hell, there will be a surprise. Moug walked a long way and turned back to say, thank you for reminding me. After that, the team of the Heavenly King of the State left their sight. The Lord of the Ancient Flute was a little anxious and asked hurriedly, young master, could it be that she has some conspiracy? She would share such an important thing with you. You are her biggest competitor. This shows that women always doubt women, especially those who are better than her, and make her feel a huge sense of crisis. Unexpectedly, the Lord of the Ancient Ru said, I believe her, and I also believe that this gate of hell may really be related to the 10th grade Immortal King Seal. Why? Everyone asked. Gu Ru looked up at the sky and said, how can you and I guess what the Jade Emperor is thinking? If we say that the competition in this endless galaxy is always less interesting and thrilling, but if it is placed in the 10,000 layers of hell, with many ghosts and gods joining in, how terrible and intense would it be? So, I think it is possible. Everyone suddenly realized that the danger was imaginable. From today on, we will do our best to find the gate of hell. Xiao Luo, smell it carefully. Woof woof. With the mission, Xiao Tian Dog was very excited and jumped up and down. He didn't find the interest now, but if he got close, his sense of smell would definitely be extremely sensitive. Let's go. The ancient giant spirit clan, a large group, followed Xiao Tian Dog again. Where Xiao Tian Dog went, They went there. Guyin, I still think that Moug has a conspiracy. Gu Di God came to Guyin God and whispered. Gu Di, I want to give you some advice. You say. I heard that the clan leader intends to let the young master pursue the daughter of the heavenly king of the state to consolidate the status of the heavenly palace. Everyone knows that you like the young master, but the one who is most worthy of the young master is Moug, so. But in this Taigzu immortal road, they are competitors. It doesn't matter. If you win, it belongs to the young master. If you lose, it's also a favor to the other party. After all, they are family members. There's nothing wrong with it. But you always doubt Moug in front of the young master, and the young master will definitely not have a good face for you. Okay. Gu Di God was very unwilling, but she had to admit that Guyin God said this for her own good. Moug thinks she is noble and may not look down on the young master. If they fall out, I will definitely have a chance. There is no need to make the young master unhappy now. However, after thinking carefully, Gu Di God thought it through. The whole team continued to cross the galaxy. 3 years later, Roaring Sky Dog shouted excitedly, and the god of ancient Ru finally smiled. Finally, we found the second one. Don't let others get there first. Xiao Luo, let's go. You guys follow behind. The god of ancient Ru was very excited. Together with Roaring Sky Dog, he advanced rapidly. Wu Yu was in Taixuanation and was also caught by Jingdong at this time. Did you find anything? Wu Yu knew what he was looking for. The Gate of Hell. Moug said that it was something that could open the test of the 10th rank Immortal King Seal. Wu Yu was also looking forward to it, because that test would definitely be absolutely chaotic, and then he would have a chance to save Gu Moying. 3 days, 326 new chapters on the first day, 188 on the second day, and 124 on the third day. It seems to add up to more than 600. The original plan was 1000 chapters, but everyone is not very supportive after all. There are more than 100,000 readers who follow the reading every day. However, I have also written the manuscript, so I will make an exception this time. It's useless to keep it. Next time we organize an event, everyone should be more active. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1395. Before, Moug found a gate of hell, but was beaten by Guru Shenjun by less than a quarter of an hour. Now, Xiaotian Dog has found a new gate of hell, and Guru Shenjun will not make the same mistake. He moves swiftly, rushes forward, disappears in the blink of an eye, and quickly approaches a hidden star. Other ancient giant spirits also chased here, but while chasing, they closed the route until the entire star was sealed and no one was allowed to come in. If it weren't for Xiaotian Dog, even if it knew about this star, it would be quite difficult to find it. With Xiaotian Dog, it has smelled the smell of the gate of hell countless times, and now it is naturally quite simple. Basically, it directly locked the gate of hell and shuttled inside the star. It didn't take long before it arrived in the blink of an eye. In an abyss, there is an underground waterfall. Behind the waterfall, there is a cave entrance that blocks the view. After entering the cave, after a careful look, Guru Shenjun clearly found the bronze ring. All the bronze rings, that is, the gates of hell, are actually exactly the same, without much difference. Guru Shenjun was very straightforward. He directly used another Sumuru bag to put the bronze ring into his bag, then checked the surroundings and left. Young master, how is it? Coming out from the inside of the star, a group of people surrounded him and asked expectantly. Guru Shenjun smiled faintly and said, "Got it?" After 3 years of searching, he finally got the second gate of hell, which is now contained in a different Sumuru bag. What will happen if the two gates of hell are together? Guyan Shenjun asked. We will know in a while. Let's change places. Guru Shenjun was in a good mood and of course very curious. He led everyone and gradually moved forward. Not long after, they arrived at another star. This star was very bright and had no secrets at all. After arriving here, Guru Shenjun asked his subordinates to set up a defensive ferry formation on this star. When all kinds of defense formations are in place, it is unlikely that anyone in this endless galaxy can pose the slightest threat to their group. Therefore, Guru Shenjun took out 2 sumuru bags under the expectation of everyone. They wanted to see what would happen when these 2 hell gates were put together. Wu Yu was also very concerned in Taixuanation. This had a great relationship with whether he and Gu Moying could survive. Let's start and see what Moug is holding out for. Under the nervous eyes of everyone, Guru Shenjun opened the 2 sumuru bags and took out the 2 hell gates from them. Suddenly, the spirit of ghosts and gods burst out, and the whole star was filled with a strong breath of hell, as if this place had turned into hell. Guru Shenjun did not control and let the 2 hell gates change. Sure enough, without control, the 2 hell gates changed automatically. As everyone was watching nervously, the 2 gates of hell approached each other, and suddenly, they collided with each other. Everyone originally thought that the 2 bronze rings would collide, but surprisingly, the 2 bronze rings began to merge, all the bronze began to melt, and then dock together, and then reunited to form a new bronze ring. 10 breaths later, a new bronze ring of the same size appeared in front of everyone, that is, the gate of hell. Compared with the past, it seemed to be a little darker in color, but there were no other changes. The only thing that looked special was that the ripples in the ring were more rapid. Of course, merging 2 into 1 is already a big change. Guru Shenjun clapped his hands and said, "In this Taixu Immortal Road, all the inexplicable changes will be related to the Immortal King Seal, and they are all the mechanisms to open the Immortal King Seal. And the mystery of this gate of hell is more complicated than opening the 9th grade Immortal King Seal. If there is a way to open the 10th grade Immortal King Seal, it is likely to be related to this gate of hell. The demon fairy is really smart." The changes in front of him made him feel a little sure. He was more certain of the correctness of Moug's idea. Everyone cheered. Gu Shenjun pursed her lips, wanting to remind Guru Shenjun to be more careful, but thinking of Gu Yin's words, she resisted the urge to speak and closed her mouth. Guru Shenjun quickly put away the new gate of hell and kept it well, then said to everyone, "We have got enough ordinary Immortal King Seals. From today on, we will do our best to find this gate of hell. I want to see how many such gates of hell there are in this endless galaxy." Yes. Hearing that this might be the key to open the 10th rank Immortal King Seal, the ancient giant spirit clan was also very excited. If this 10th rank Immortal King Seal could add another Emperor Immortal to their clan, it would undoubtedly be a huge help to them. Their team set out in a mighty manner to find a new gate of hell, and Roaring Sky Dog became the most important part of it. The entire team relied entirely on it to travel. There was no chance for the time being. Wu Yu spent most of his time in the floating life tower, practicing. On the one hand, he was thinking about the realm of magical powers, improving himself, and consolidating his previous gains. On the other hand, he was helping Nangongwei's consciousness grow. In fact, the closer she was to the Fire Dance Phoenix King, the more thrilling it was. Even if Nangongwei never showed her consciousness since then, there was still a great risk of being suspected if she grew stronger and constantly absorbed fragments of the Fire Dance Phoenix King's consciousness. Fortunately, Nangongwei had grown up and was able to keep her composure. However, it will become more and more difficult to grow stronger in the future. After all, the basic consciousness of Fire Dance Phoenix Lord is now more solid and solid. Wu Yu's exorcist technique has been impacted too many times, and the effect has long been greatly reduced. Moreover, he also sharpened the opponent's immortal formation to become even stronger. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Wu Yu could only continue to fight for her. But the ancient Holmium God Lord and others traveled throughout the endless galaxy, walked through too many stars, and explored countless heavens and earth. As the roaring dog traveled hundreds of millions of miles, the ancient Holmium God Lord discovered that the gate to hell is not that big. Easy to find. In other words, maybe the total number of hell gates in this vast Taixu immortal road is not large. Within nearly 20 years, he previously obtained the second hell gate in the third year, and then in the 15th year, the third hell gate was obtained. Seeing that there were only 25 years left before the Taixu immortal road was closed, the ancient Holmium god continued to search deeply. He had put all his energy on the gate of hell. He was not even interested in finding the immortal king seal when passing by. Except for them, most of the other immortal monarchs were still searching for the immortal king with all their strength. Print. However, the ancient Holmium god was very lucky next. When there were only 20 years left in the entire 100 years of the Taixu immortal road, he obtained the fourth gate of hell. Except for the one I got accidentally at the beginning, it took 20 years to search for the remaining three. After getting the third and fourth hell gates, they all merged with the first and second hell gates. Finally, the four merged into one. There was no big change, but the color became deeper, changing from bronze to bronze. It became black, and there was a gradually deepening feeling. At the same time, the breath of hell coming from the gate of hell became even more majestic. Every time I took it out, the terrible feeling made others unable to breathe. Angry. After obtaining the fourth hell gate, God Lord Guyan said beside God Lord Guhu, "Young master, put all your efforts into finding this gate of hell. I don't know if it is correct. Now we have obtained the number of immortal king seals. It should not be as good as other descendants of the Emperor Immortal, such as Zhao Gongming's son Zhao Yuan Chen, and the 10th grade immortal king seal is still too illusory." The ancient Holmium god looked at him and said, "No matter how many immortal king seals there are, they can't compare with the 10th grade immortal king seal. But what if you still can't get it in the end?" Ancient Holmium god smiled and said, "This is the difference between you and me. Just because I might not get it, should I give up pursuing the best thing? Young master is right." Lord Guyan was impressed by his eyes, because they were so warm and powerful, and he had enough confidence in himself. Moreover, if among the 100 million immortal lords, there is a slight possibility of obtaining the 10th grade immortal king seal, that is, there are less than 10 people including him and Moug, among whom he is obviously very likely. By the way, the demon fairy said last time that if I get the fourth hell gate, I can contact her quickly. The ancient Holmium god sent her the messenger talisman, and soon after, he received a reply. After seeing the reply, the ancient Holmium god smiled, and then their team changed direction and moved forward quickly. "Young master, how are you?" "She invited me to go to the star where we first obtained the gate of hell, and said that she wanted to make an attempt to open a test." The ancient flute god asked, "Is there any conspiracy?" Ancient Holmium god lord said, "You are underestimating her, she has a very big picture." At this time, the ancient Holmium divine lord sincerely praised him, but the ancient flute divine lord must have sounded uncomfortable. She pursed her lips and didn't say much. A few months later, they reached the star. Moug had already been there waiting for his arrival. The team of King Dritadrita is still very strong, and there are strong men with various abilities in it. Although the ancient Holmium god and Moug seemed to have a good relationship, the tribesmen on both sides were actually quite hostile. At this time, when the two sides were close, the feeling of confrontation was particularly obvious. Moug and God Lord Gu Holmium, on the other hand, are outside this confrontation. They have noble status, are used to being aloof, and have much higher knowledge than the immortal lords like their subordinates. They also have self-knowledge, and can jump out of confrontation and work in a certain way. To a certain extent, a certain degree of cooperation can be achieved. After the meeting, after a few words of greetings, the ancient Holmium god went straight to the point and asked, "There are only 20 years left. How many gates of hell do you think it will take to open the real gate?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1396. Moug is neither humble nor arrogant, her temperament is pure, and she does not eat the immortal fire of the world. The 800 elites in her eyes, and the ancient Holmium god in front of her, can barely fall into her eyes. She said, "The seal of the 10th grade immortal king, so I guess it is 10. The ancient Holmium god smiled and said, "The demon fairy is indeed just as I thought. Last time, the demon fairy said that if I find the 4th gate to hell, I will contact you. So now, the demon fairy has obtained 6. Gate of hell." In fact, he was very surprised, because he knew how difficult it was to find the gate to hell. In the past 20 years, he had spent all his energy to find 3, but the other party actually had 4 on the premise of having 2. Moug shook her head and said, "The Lord God thinks of me too much. In the past 20 years, we have tried our best and only added a gate to hell. After all, we don't have a divine object like the roaring sky dog, and the efficiency is really high, quite a difference." Ancient Holmium god Lord thought she had already got 6. He was a little disappointed, but on the surface, he still praised, "This hell gate is indeed very rare, and it is distributed throughout the Taixu Immortal Road. It is very difficult to find. Demon fairy after getting 3, there are not many. However, the demon fairy believes that 10 hell gates are needed to open the test, but there are only 7 at present, and there are still 3 left. Is there anything the demon fairy can do?" The eyes of the two tribes collided, and there was always a sense of tit for tat, but Moug remained calm and said, "Actually, I guess that there are only 10 10th grade immortal king seals in the entire Taixu Immortal Road. I already had 7 in hand, and I almost searched all over Taixu Immortal Road, but I couldn't find the other 3. Later, after inquiring, I found that the other 3 hell gates had been taken away by 3 groups of people, and the 3 groups of people are all descendants of the Emperor Immortal. Even if you and I join forces, it will be difficult to snatch the gate of hell from them. So, I wonder if the ancient Holmium Lord will mind if there are 3 more competitors. After all, there are only 3 left. It's been 20 years, and our real opponent may be time." The ancient Holmium god was silent. They are discussing internally. Ancient Holmium god Lord said, "It doesn't matter if we add 3 competitors, but if we are here first and fight for it, even if we finally grab the 3 gates of hell, we will suffer a big loss, and there is no need to compete with others. The relationship between the descendants of the Emperor and Immortal is too tense." Lord Guyin said, "I heard the demon fairy's intention, and I also want to join forces with them. Let's see if there is a possibility of opening the 10th grade Immortal King Seal challenge as soon as possible. After all, 20 years is really not a long time. Yes. Maybe this 100 years will be over before the 10th grade Immortal King Seal is found. But, we got the most hell gates, and they only have 1. Why? The ancient flute god is still very unhappy. They have spent all their efforts on these 4 hell gates, and now they want to share them with others. Results. For others, a gate to hell is enough. Ancient Holmium god Lord said, "If you stick to this point, then you really won't have even the slightest chance. The 10th grade Immortal King Seal can only be left to the group of people 5,000 years from now. That way, only it's the biggest disadvantage. Whether it's a blessing or a curse, it's clear. The young master is right. The demon fairy will definitely appreciate the young master's decision." Obviously, MOUG has already made plans to join forces with those three. The MOUG opposite asked, has the Lord Shen thought about it? The ancient Holmium god nodded and said, let them come. MOUG smiled faintly and said, Shenjun is indeed astonishing and impressive. It feels very refreshing to be exaggerated by the magic fairy. At this time, MOUG Fang sent a messenger talisman to those people and asked them to gather here. When they heard about the 10th grade Immortal King Seal, they would definitely spare no effort. The remaining time is to wait for those three groups of people. 10 gates to hell. They added up to a total of 10. They thought that the entire Taixu Immortal Road only had so many, but it was clear that Wu Yu had a gate of hell in his hands. Wu Yu didn't understand what was going on. Now that they have gathered 10 gates of hell, let's see the changes. It is getting more and more difficult to make progress on the immortal path. In the past 2000 years, he has hardly made any big progress. The only good thing is that Nangongwei's consciousness has already approached Lord Huahuang. What's more, Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi, with the help of Wu Yu's inheritance, have entered the realm of Immortal Lord and reached the realm Lord God realm. Although it is still the beginning, they now have the power of two worlds, have the physical world realm, and can probably fight against the immortal kings of the 4th and 5th realms, and their room for improvement is not small in the future, because Wu Yu provided they have a large amount of inheritance, including dozens of 9 realm immortal lords. They are slower to absorb than Wu Yu, but they still have a lot of time to concentrate on cultivation. Of course, compared with Wu Yu, they lack a lot of practical experience. The god of ancient Holmium and the demon concubine are very close to each other. They are really talented and beautiful, and they are enviable. The tribes of both sides were in opposition from the beginning, and then gradually reconciled, and they were talking and laughing afterwards. A month later, the third group of people arrived, and they turned out to be a group of people that Wu Yu was familiar with. They were the Sishan Immortal clan led by Siming Immortal Lord. Siming Immortal Lord had lost the 9th grade Immortal King Seal. He was sad for a long time, but after hearing that the Fire Dance Phoenix Lord had lost his life, he finally felt a little better. Now that he saw Moug's letter, he was overjoyed and hurriedly brought the Sishan Immortal clan over. I, Siming, have met the ancient Holmium God Lord and the demon fairy. He knew that his power was weak, so he lowered his posture and said, I didn't expect that you two would give me the opportunity to participate in the competition. It is really an honor for me. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Ancient Holmium Divine Lord said, no need to thank me, it was Siming Immortal Lord who was lucky and got the opportunity himself. Moug smiled faintly and didn't say much. In fact, the only opponent in her eyes was the ancient Holmium God Lord. 10 days later, the fourth group of people arrived, and they turned out to be people from the Emperor Immortal of the Southern Yinghuo Hua Zhenjun, named Yinghuo Immortal Clan. The leader among them is the Yinghuo Immortal Lord, the son of the Southern Yinghuo Hua Zhenjun. The Yinghuo Immortal Lord has red hair, fair complexion, and red eyes. He is cheerful and lively, and can be considered a fool. When he comes, he shouts those three brothers and sisters, regardless of whether they were abrupt or not. Of course they had known each other before. After all, their parents had a good relationship, especially between the Lord Huad and the giant spirit god. Therefore, the Yinghuo Immortal Lord and the ancient Holmium Lord were also good friends since they were young. But here, there is still a competitive relationship. The last one is the beloved daughter of the Dongfang Taibei Jinda Zhenjun, named White Knight Immortal, who came here with people from the Taibei Immortal clan. This White Knight Immortal Lord also has a face that is unparalleled in heaven. He is gentle and elegant, holy and pure. He is dressed in white gauze, floating in the mist, making people yearn for it like the white lotus. You can look at it from a distance but not play with it. In this way, 5 groups of people have gathered here. Among them, the ancient giant spirit god clan and the clan of the kingdom of heavenly kings are the largest and the most powerful. The other three groups of people can only block the relationship between the ancient Holmium God Lord and Moug by combining them in pairs. There are also some mysteries. Among the newcomers, Immortal Siming is low-key, Immortal Yinghuo is cynical, and Immortal Bei is gentle, quiet, and aloof from the world. It is temporarily impossible to tell what the three of them are thinking. Thousands of them gathered here. To the outside, they were just over 1,000 white dots on the star map, which was very noticeable. Marshall God bless expanded the star map over there, and people saw that there were so many white dots on the star map. Many people gathered together. There are only 20 years left. What are these people doing together? Who is there? I saw that they are the daughters of the heavenly King Druta, the son of the giant spirit god, and the children of Emperor Sishan Zhaosheng, true Lord Yinghuo Huat of the south, and true Lord Tebe Jinda of the east. These five are all the most outstanding among them. One of the 10 people. What are they going to do? They are outside and not particularly clear. Even King Chiguo was watching with interest at this time, but he didn't know what they were doing. Strange. Emperor Xuanhuan glanced at it and said, "It should be a planned thing, but Huowu is not in it." In fact, the team of the Eternal Phoenix clan is also very strong, but not in such an environment. It feels like they are missing out on exciting things. Yuanzu Phoenix Emperor is a little dissatisfied. Saint Emperor Dongfang Kongjin said with a smile, "These little guys are gathered together, but they have some idea of the Jade Emperor's 10th grade Immortal King Seal." After hearing what Holy Emperor Dongfang Chang'an said, everyone became interested and watched carefully. Within Taixu Immortal Road, God Lord Gu Holmium couldn't wait any longer. He said, "Since everyone is here and there are less than 20 years left, let's not waste time. After all, there is nothing we can do, sure, it's just an attempt, so let's get started." He started simply and took out the Gate of Hell, which was already fused with 4 bronze rings. His Gate of Hell could be said to be the darkest in color. Next, Moug also took out a Gate of Hell, which was also very dark in color. She was a fusion of 3. When the other 3 saw this, they also lifted their guard. Due to the strength of the other 2, the 3 of them felt that they wanted to combine with each other. After all, they were almost weak here. They also used their own Hell's Gate at the same time. Their Gate of Hell is similar to Wu Yu's, neither of them has been fused. Sure enough, 10 gates to Hell appeared. Now that Wu Yu has the 11th one in his hand, he wants to see what changes these people can make with 10 Hell gates. "Let's all go," the ancient Holmium god said. He let go first, and everyone else soon let go. Then, all the gates of Hell converged towards a central point. Finally, they all collided and merged. Everyone was watching and did not act rashly. Even the ancient Holmium god, this time, is also full of expectations. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1397. Amid everyone's attention, the 10 gates to Hell gradually merge together. Then, you can see that its color is getting darker and darker, until finally, the 10 gates of Hell gradually merge into one, reaching the darkest level. It was as dark as ink, and then the surface of the ring shone with black light, and stars appeared on it, as if the entire black ring was filled with endless stars. This was somewhat similar to the Taixu Immortal Road. "There is a change," the ancient Holmium god was overjoyed. He immediately understood that the gathering of the 10 gates of Hell was indeed different from before. However, they have to wait and see if there are any specific changes. The door in the middle of the Gate of Hell is not very big and can only allow 2 or 3 people to pass through. Even after 10 of them were fused, it still did not expand. It's just that the breath coming from within the circle is constantly rising. Standing in front of the circle, it's like standing in the deep, thousands-layered hell, that smelly, disgusting, ferocious, dark, and cold. The aura of the Emperor rushed towards his face. The descendants of the Emperor Immortals living in heaven were naturally extremely uncomfortable with this feeling. Finally, the integration seemed complete. A pitch-black gate to hell appeared in front of everyone's eyes. There seemed to be no other movement for the time being, and everyone was stunned. No response. Ancient Holmium God Lord was stunned for a moment. At this moment, the gate of hell erupted with a burst of black light and shook away, fearing that it would quickly sweep across the entire endless galaxy. Suddenly, there was a majestic voice that shook the entire endless galaxy. Congratulations to all of you, you have opened the path. The 10th grade Immortal King Seal is behind this gate, in the 5,000th level of hell, the Starry Sky Hell. The gate to Starry Sky Hell will be open for 1 year and then closed. Participants can enter it one after another, but hell is dangerous and there are many ghosts and gods. You need to think twice before trying to get involved in the 10th grade Immortal King Seal. If you enter the Star Hell, you are not allowed to return to heaven. Unless you are still alive in Taixu Immortal Road for 100 years, you will be taken back to Chang'an heaven on your own. The 3 sentences not only shook the ancient Holmium gods and the others, but gradually spread. The immortals in the entire Taixu Immortal Road could hear them, and they could barely identify the source. Then come crazy this way. 3 sentences, 3 messages in total. Every piece of information is extremely important to everyone. The breathing of the ancient Holmium god suddenly became rapid. Of course, the same goes for Wu Yu. Sure enough, the 10th grade Immortal King Seal is actually in hell. And it's the 5,000th level of hell. There are many Ghost King level and Taixu Ghost realms there. Gathering 10 gates of hell can actually open the test of the 10th grade Immortal King Seal. But, is this voice the Jade Emperor's? He actually placed the 10th grade Immortal King Seal in hell. And it's the first 5,000 hells. This is too bold. In the territory of ghosts and gods, the difficulty can be imagined. Yes, and it is obviously us who opened it, but it will last for a year. By then, other immortal lords will definitely be able to enter. And our ancient Holmium Lord has 4 gates to hell, so it seems that there is no advantage. For us, it's really a shame. However, even the Jade Emperor said that hell is dangerous and there are many ghost kings. If the news is leaked, more ghosts and gods will definitely come to the Star Hell from other hells. It will be dangerous then. They will definitely die. Everyone who goes in, everyone should think twice, is it worth it for the 10th grade Immortal King Seal? Anyway, I don't dare to go in. After all, thinking about it, it seems that getting the 10th grade Immortal King Seal has nothing to do with me. Yes, after entering, even if you get the 10th grade Immortal King Seal, you can't leave hell. You can only return automatically after 20 years. How terrible is that? How many people will die? The 10th grade Immortal King Seal. There is only one, I think. This baby is actually a nightmare, so the young master and the others can compete. After those voices came out, everyone started talking. Among them, there are many people with shocked, surprised, and timid faces. After all, behind this door is a starry sky hell that you cannot come back to for 20 years. But staying in this endless galaxy, the danger is estimated to be less than 1% of the starry sky hell, and it is also possible to win the Immortal King Seal for oneself. On the current Taixu Immortal Road, there must be many Immortal King Seals that have not been found. Once you get hot-headed and enter this starry sky hell, the possibility of death will increase by more than 100 times. You and I will definitely not be able to bear it. Moreover, the more people we enter, the easier it will be for the ghosts and gods to know that the Jade Emperor actually placed the seal of the 10th grade Immortal King in their starry sky hell. By then, how can we immortals, competing with the entire hell, have a way to survive? Once the news comes, if the news leaks out, that is the most terrifying thing. If the news leaks out, the young master may not be able to survive for 20 years, because many ghost kings will probably take action. Don't talk nonsense, the young master certainly has a plan. I'm not talking nonsense, but it's really too dangerous and terrible. Everyone thinks so, right? This 10th grade immortal king seal is a deadly poison. Just 3 sentences, but they frighten them, because they are all big immortals, not ordinary, carefree immortal kings. Even if they get the 10th grade immortal king seal, it belongs to their young master, not themselves, so they basically work hard but gain nothing. Maybe many immortal kings who have no worries will choose to go in. Wu Yu saw that many people were panicked instead of excited. The starry sky, hell and ghosts and gods completely frightened them. No wonder, it is unlikely that anyone will get the 10th grade immortal king seal this time. The Jade Emperor has really played too much. The underworld hell is okay. After fusing 10 of them, you can actually lead to the star hell. The 5,000 hells, there are countless powerful ghosts and gods. Although the door has been opened now, it is very difficult to obtain and the danger is increased hundreds of times. Even this ancient Holmium god has at least a high chance of dying there if the giant spirit god does not save him. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Wu Yu was also extremely shocked. 10 will open the door, so my hell gate seems useless. I guess to reduce the difficulty, I have prepared 11 hell gates. You can open them as long as you find any 10. There are even 10 more. 2, 13. In fact, Wu Yu thought that it was unlikely that they would succeed. After all, they were just guessing. He really didn't expect that it would actually succeed in the end. Now the door was in front of them. Whether they could get in or not was a matter of time. It's the matter of the ancient Holmium god and the others. The fact that they didn't rush directly in showed that they were still in awe. Even outside, the emperors and immortals looked at each other in confusion. It's too much fun, too dangerous, hell, that's not our territory. King Dhritarashtra sighed. The ancient giant spirit said, moreover, it is still the starry sky hell. There are too many powerful people there. They are all ghosts and gods. In fact, they were all a little nervous because they knew that their children would definitely go in. The 10th grade immortal king seal is quite attractive to everyone. Are you going to let your heirs go to a place as dangerous as the 10,000 layers of hell? The emperors and immortals present all had complicated moods, and some had even made some arrangements. Of course, they dare not interfere with the fight for the 10th rank immortal king seal, but it is still possible to save the lives of their heirs. In 1 year, if there are many people who are brave enough to risk their lives, then the hell in the starry sky will be lively. Marshal Tianyu smiled. They have seen that in the star map, the young immortal kings have already made their choices. God Lord Gu Holmium first said, I suggest that the starry sky hell is really dangerous. With thousands of us going in, the target is too big, and it will easily cause a big commotion, making it more difficult to do things. Once the matter of the 10th grade immortal king seal is leaked, we will not be able to do anything at all. It's hopeless, but it will give the ghosts and gods an advantage. Therefore, only 10 elites from each team will enter the starry sky hell, and the rest are ordered to stay here and prohibit others from entering the starry sky hell. This is the best way for their 5 top beings. The 10 most elite people who enter are more flexible, easy to hide, and not easy to leak information. Moreover, they don't want others to enter the starry sky hell again. It would also be good for them to leave most of the inside, station here, seal this starry sky hell, and don't leak the news. As soon as the statement came out, everyone made a noise, and most people breathed a sigh of relief, because they did not dare to enter the star hell at all, and even if they could get it, it would not do them any good. Of course, there are also a few who want to take risks and serve the young master, which makes a little sense at this time. Moug said, I agree with this proposal. I also selected 9 people to follow me. The rest will work together with other brothers and sisters to guard the gate of starry sky hell and don't let any outsiders in. After 1 year, you can retire with success, and when the time comes, all the immortal king seals you get will be yours. They are the two most authoritative people, and they both said so. This is beneficial to Immortal Siming, Immortal Yinghuo and Immortal Bei, but they feel that they are weak and want to increase the number to 30 people, and finally decide on 20 people, 20 top level 9 realms. Immortal Lord, you can still protect yourself when you enter the starry sky hell. They won't be too insecure by not leaking information. If there are too many people, it really won't work. What Moug said is that they only need to hold on for 1 year, and the immortal king seal they obtain in the future will belong to themselves. This is an attraction for most people, so those who dare not go in basically accept it. Next, they each selected people, and selected the 20 most capable ones who also wanted to serve themselves. Among them, the god of ancient proverbs was arranged to stay here. As the leader of this group of people, the god of ancient Holmium arranged for him to be stationed here. The mission here is basically complete. After a year, he can leave with his team and everyone can fight for their own immortal king seal. There are 100 people in total, which is the top team of these 5 major clans. Each one of them is at the peak of the 9 realms immortal lords in terms of combat power, and the ancient flute god lord is also in the team. Of course she wants to enter the starry sky hell and serve the young master. Then, they prepared to go in, while those who stayed behind began to set up the immortal formation. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1398. The gate of the starry sky hell was opened, and the battlefield moved to the 10,000 hells. Even the elites among the 100 elites were a little nervous. On the contrary, those who did not need to go in were a little more relaxed now, but they knew in their hearts that it was not easy to stop those desperate people who also wanted to get a piece of the pie. For most of the immortals, a first-grade immortal king seal was enough to become an immortal king, and a third-grade immortal king seal was an unattainable dream. Why, a 10th-grade immortal king seal? Only the group of people such as Gu Ru Shenjun, Moug, Siming Xianjun, Yinghuo Xianjun, and Baiye Xianjun were barely qualified to get involved. Of course, it is not ruled out that those immortals, who have no ties, want to try their luck. If they are lucky enough to get this 10th grade immortal king seal, they will have the hope of becoming an eternal emperor immortal in the future. This temptation is really terrible. Wu Yu did find an opportunity. It was obvious that Guru Shenjun was not confident that others would trap him. He had to do it himself, so he took Wu Yu to the starry sky hell. Since the 5 parties knew clearly what strong men the other 4 parties had, prisoners like Wu Yu were certainly not included in the quota. As Guru Shenjun's left and right arms, Gu Di Shenjun was also selected. Several people from Gu Moying should also be taken by her side. Wu Yu had the 9th grade Immortal King Seal. Although the 10th grade Immortal King Seal was against the sky, he did not have a strong desire. Now all he wanted was to escape. The team of 100 people was led by Guru Shenjun. Guru Shenjun was determined to get the 10th grade Immortal King Seal. He took 19 people first and decisively passed through the gate of the starry sky hell. For a moment, the world was spinning, and it felt like Wu Yu had let his clone shuttle to the first level of hell, Xuanhuan hell. But it was obvious that the first hell and the 5,000th hell were completely different. Follow me, let's go in. Moug was also a person who had seen the world, and she was extremely calm. She held the black cat in her arms and stroked its head gently. Her black long skirt fluttered, and she looked like a fairy. Most of the 19 tribesmen she chose were women, a group of beautiful women, really eye-catching, but Moug was still the most beautiful among them. Then the remaining 60 people also entered one after another. After that, the gate of the starry sky hell continued to open. There were thousands of people left outside, looking at each other, and began to build a defensive fairy formation according to the orders of Guru Shenjun and others. Their power was indeed top-notch, but in a year, I am afraid that too many people will come here, and they may not be able to stop them at that time. For example, there will definitely be descendants of other emperors, such as the Eternal Phoenix clan, such as Xuanhuan, and many emperors. How could they not have any ideas about the 10th grade Fairy King seal? Unless some of them are already too far away, the endless galaxy is so huge that those who are too far away may not be able to come here within a year, especially some teams are too huge. So whether they can hold on for a year is also a suspense. Wu Yu doesn't care about the endless galaxy, because he has come to this starry sky hell. The starry sky hell is different from the yellow spring hell, but it is somewhat similar to the endless galaxy. The ghosts and gods here also live on the stars, but the number of stars here is far less than that of the endless galaxy. There are less than 1,000 stars, some big and some small. The huge ones are comparable to a realm, which is not comparable to the stars in the endless galaxy. In the entire starry sky hell, the area of the stars added together should be about the same as the 4,000th heaven. One of the stars is actually equivalent to a huge city. This is also the reason why the Jade Emperor chose to put the 10th grade Immortal King seal here. After all, this place is most similar to the endless galaxy. It seems that this is just a secret realm opened in the endless galaxy. The first time they came here, they were in the corner of this starry sky hell. No ghosts and gods discovered them for the time being. Hundreds of people arrived here in the blink of an eye. The breadth of this ghost and gods territory is really disgusting and uncomfortable. It is said that the starry sky hell is still good. Other places are full of corpses. It is really not a place for people to stay. But even in such a far place, you can smell the bloody smell, and the breath of various vicious cultivation methods. It is really uncomfortable. When they first came here and looked at the dark red starry sky, everyone was a little unhappy. In this starry sky, you can see some huge stars in the distance. They are different from the irregular stars in the endless galaxy. Those are equivalent to fragments. The stars here are all huge spheres with mountains, trees, and of course, blood seas. The ghosts and gods are on these huge spherical stars. Demon Fairy, each of you depends on your ability. I will say goodbye here. Guru Shenjun bowed. See you later. They were all fairly straightforward people. Guru Shenjun would not give up the 10th grade Immortal King seal for the beauty, so of course he would not choose to join forces, but act alone and go all out, which was the most appropriate. After saying goodbye to Moug, he led 19 people and went in one direction, while Moug changed direction. There were still 3 groups of people left, still staying where they were. These 2 people said goodbye to each other, but they didn't even look at us. They don't take us seriously at all, Yinghuo Xianjun laughed. Bai Ye Xianjun said, don't talk nonsense, they are indeed high above, but we can't compare. Siming Xianjun sneered and said, that's not the case. Who can get the 10th grade Immortal King seal is still uncertain. Coming here, everyone has the same opportunity. You too, goodbye first. It seems that he has some confidence in himself. The 5 teams separated like this. On Wu Yu's side, only the ancient Holmium God Lord and 19 others were left. They followed the ancient Holmium God Lord, lowered their heads and hurried on, talking in secret. Young master, where do you think the Jade Emperor would hide that treasure? Asked the ancient flute god. Guyan Shenjun said, I guess it should be some places where people gather, and it must be the most dangerous place. Or it may be some hidden places. Anyway, it is definitely not too easy. After all, this is the 10th level Immortal King. No one may be able to get the seal within tens of thousands, and the Jade Emperor will definitely change places next time. The ancient Holmium god thought deeply, everything is unknown now. We need to inquire about the news to see if there have been any changes here recently. In this way, we approach a star, search outside, catch the ghosts and gods here, and first lay out the layout of the place. Only when we understand everything clearly and become familiar with all the powerful people and arrangements here can we possibly get the news. Otherwise, we will be just headless flies no matter where we go. Young master is right. They were relatively cautious, hiding, and traveling in a relatively concealed way. They locked on the smallest star within the vicinity and slowly headed there. Although this would consume a lot of time, after all, there were 20 years. Ancient Holmium God Lord guessed that no one could find clues as soon as they arrived. 20 years was a short time, and the possibility that all of them would not be able to obtain the 10th grade Immortal King Seal was actually relatively high. Hundreds of them began to sneak into this starry sky hell, like a stone sinking into the sea, and they would not cause any waves at this time. On the other hand, in Chang'an heaven, the emperors and immortals were a little dumbfounded. Marshal Tianyu only had the star map of the endless galaxy, but obviously there was no star map of the starry sky hell, so after they entered, all activities were no longer visible. It means that even if they are in danger, it seems that they will not know it within a short period of time. This is what worries them. Hell is a territory they cannot control. Seeing this, Holy Emperor Dongfang Chang'an said to the 5 kings, namely, King Shi Guo, Zhu Lingshen, Emperor Si Tian Zhaoshen, True Lord Huad, and True Lord Jinda, don't worry, everyone, the Jade Emperor has arranged it himself. Let your heirs lose their lives in this starry sky hell. Of course, you can also arrange protection. After all, the Jade Emperor is watching. Yes. If you choose to fight for the 10th grade Immortal King Seal, you will indeed have to take risks, which is understandable. In the hell of the starry sky, Wu Yu saw that they were approaching a star. The star was not very big, but it was bigger than the largest star in the endless galaxy. It was equivalent to a ghost city, and it was covered with various fairy formations. You can vaguely see many ghosts and gods coming and going below, but it is not as peaceful as the heavenly palace. The ghosts and gods are very vigilant, and the whole world looks relatively dead. The ancient Holmium god came here to find a ghost and god who could let him understand this starry sky hell. Such ghosts and gods can be said to be everywhere, so it is not very difficult. They glanced at it, and Lord Guyan said, so these are the ghosts and gods from hell, and they're not that big of a deal. Most of them are ordinary ghosts, and they don't even seem to be at the 7th level of the realm Lord God realm. Don't be careless. After all, this is the edge of the starry sky hell. There must be many ghost kings in the core of the starry sky hell, the ancient flute god said. What good he said makes sense. The ancient Holmium god Lord praised him a little, which made the ancient flute god very happy, with an excited smile on his face. Lord Guyan didn't say much. He knew that Lord Gu Holmium and Lord Gu Di had a very good relationship. Before Moug appeared, he once thought Lord Ancient Holmium and Lord Gu Flute were going to become Taoist companions. Although their identities were different, the giant spirit god actually quite likes this girl. But compared with Moug, it is indeed far behind. The giant spirit god is slightly worse than the king of the country. If he can succeed, the giant spirit god can still be considered high. They were standing outside and had not met any suitable ghosts and gods for the time being. The ancient Holmium god was more anxious about the 10th grade Immortal King Seal. After all, other competitors had already set off, so he led the team and continued to go deeper. Soon they locked a target. God Lord Ancient Holmium was about to take action himself. He headed towards the target. It was a ghost and god at about the 5th level of the realm Lord God realm. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1399. Buzz. Suddenly, the entire huge star below suddenly shook. Who dares to break into the territory of my blood demon sect? A withered roar spread out immediately, and Wu Yu's ears hurt even though he was in Taixuanation. He realized, Guruo Shenjun has been discovered. After all, Guruo Shenjun has never been to hell, so he is not very clear about the situation here. Wu Yu has been to Xuanhuan hell, and he knows that it is normal for ghosts and gods to form gangs. The 8,000 heavenly palaces are under the unified management of the heavenly court and are completely controlled by the Jade Emperor, but hell is not the same. In hell, those top ghosts and gods have a loose management of the entire hell, so the entire 10,000 hells are often caught in civil wars, fighting, and scrambling. Fighting and fighting are very common in any corner, and no one cares at all. This results in the number of ghosts and gods being far less than that of celestial beings. However, those who survive are often treacherous and cunning, or have other abilities. Anyway, only the strong can survive, so their combat experience is worse than that of celestial beings of the same level. When they fight, they are even more terrifying. Many of their methods have been honed over countless years. For example, luring the enemy. Obviously, the ancient god thought that this was a city similar to the one in the heaven, guarded by strong men assigned by the heaven, with strict laws and disciplines. In fact, this is not the case here. It can even be said that the star is the territory of the blood demon sect. Outsiders who break in may be killed directly. Because it is their own territory, it is very solid, and they can build all kinds of immortal formations, and no one will care. In the heaven, the city lords are all officials of the heaven, and the entire 8,000 heavenly palaces are under the control of the heaven. Basically, no one will attack the city, so most of the city defense formations of the immortal city will basically not be opened. But here, there are always people coming up to grab territory, and there are always people who may sneak in and kill people. How could the immortal formation that protects the entire star not be opened? Not only open, but also hidden, using some illusions to attract others. Once they break in rashly, they will kill people and take treasures, without any negotiation. It can only be said that even if Guruo Shenjun grew up completely in the heaven, he knows too little about the dark place like the 10,000 hells. Perhaps, this difference is the head-on blow that the Jade Emperor arranged for them. Even Moug and others may be more relaxed when approaching these stars, thinking that there will not be too strong vigilance here. When Guruo Shenjun and others approached the ghosts and gods, they had already fallen into the immortal formation. Suddenly, outside the stars, there was a flaming red light. Where they were, there was a blood-red net around them, entangled them inside and out for several layers. On the blood net, there was a blood-red flame, pressing towards them at this time. This is only part of the immortal formation. Many immortal formations have been activated outside. Suddenly, they were trapped in the net of the immortal formation. The sky was full of black fog. Countless ghosts and wolves howled in their ears, which made people collapse. There were all kinds of stench, sweeping over. The ghosts forged with the corpses of ghosts and gods were also wandering around, using various attacks, which really made these immortals who had never killed ghosts and gods tremble with fear. Even the god of Gu-Ru was a little depressed. His original plan was of course not to cause any noise. Unexpectedly, they were discovered at the beginning, and they made such a noise and fell into these layers of immortal formations. The key is that the ghosts and gods outside will soon be in place. Next, they will definitely manipulate the immortal formation and bring a terrible attack like a storm. The most terrifying thing is that these immortal formations are moving, trying to tear the 20 of them apart, and then disperse the attack. This is also quite terrifying. Once separated, the god of Gu-Ru is not worried about himself, but the others will be in danger. Hold on. Don't be separated, listen to my command. He reacted quickly. At this time, through the fairy formation, you can vaguely see thousands of ghosts and gods gathered outside, with ghosts everywhere, and they laughed strangely, looking at these turtles in the jar. Hey, Sect Master. It doesn't seem to be those beasts of dark night ghost. Suddenly someone screamed strangely, and the god of Gu-Ru looked up and saw a huge sea of blood above his head. On the sea of blood, there was an old man in a blood robe, like an eagle, with narrow and sharp eyes, very scary, and just at this time he was facing the god of Gu-Ru. Ghost King. The god of Gu-Ru trembled in his heart. He could only sigh at his luck. He didn't expect that he would meet the most feared Ghost King just after arriving here. The sect master of the Blood Ghost Demon sect has reached the realm of Taegzu Ghost Realm. Fortunately it is only the first level, otherwise, he would really be finished. Hearing the word Ghost King, the faces of the others also changed greatly. They thought it would not be easy to come in, but this starry sky hell gave them a warning at the first time. The Ghost King saw Guru Shenjun and others, and laughed, "Children, look carefully, this is not a ghost. It is an immortal from the heaven. These idiots are probably bored and hijacked those who have just become ghosts and gods in the mortal world and followed them into our hell. I have seen such idiots before. They were bored in the stable place of heaven and wanted to come down to take risks, but they all died. We are lucky today and caught these people. They have a lot of treasures on them. Be careful and don't let any of them go alive." Hearing that it was a god, many people who had never seen a god went crazy and shouted. Those weird shouts were quite disgusting. The ghosts and gods laughed and were confident of victory. After all, they also knew that these were all immortals, but their leader was the famous Blood Robe Ghost King. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading. Millions of ghosts and gods are under his command. Charge. Under his command, thousands of ghosts and gods rushed down at once. Some of them were in the 9 mysterious Dao realm, and some were in the realm of the Lord of the Realm, but they had the assistance of the immortal formation, and they were in large numbers. In addition, they were all crazy people who had experienced hundreds of battles. In their territory, they were not afraid of these more than 20 immortals. Damn it, because of his decision, he suffered such danger. The ancient god was extremely angry. He locked the Blood Robe Ghost King at the first time. Then, he sacrificed the Taegzu artifact Taekshuanation. Ah! The Taegzu artifact, the blood-robed Ghost King couldn't believe his eyes. He let out a shocking roar and wiped his eyes like crazy. When he found out that it was really the Taegzu artifact, he became even crazier. Kill! Kill them all, don't let any of them go. The one who kills will be rewarded. I will personally help him break through the first level. The blood-robed Ghost King screamed. His blood-red eyes locked onto the ancient god, and he couldn't wait to rush down. The Taegzu artifact made him look like he was dreaming. As for the ability of the ancient god, he almost ignored it. For the time being, the 19 people including the ancient god, not only have to resist the immortal formation, but also have to face thousands of ghosts and gods. The most dangerous thing is that these ghosts and gods are not willing to die when they kill. What the ancient god wanted was, of course, to capture the thief and the king. As long as the blood-robed Ghost King was killed, they would have a way to survive. Die. He was still calm, controlling Taekshuanation, preparing to fight with the blood-robed Ghost King. He had experience fighting with the immortal king. Suddenly, a light flashed in Taekshuanation, and Wu Yu disappeared in it. Chifeng Immortal Lord. Guru Shenjun was shocked. He never thought that Wu Yu could even escape from Taekshuanation. This was absolutely incredible. But Wu Yu did it? He couldn't think too much, because the next moment, the blood-robe Ghost King came. Facing this blood-robe Ghost King, he basically didn't even have time to think about anything else. The other party suppressed him at the beginning. After all, Guru Shenjun had to resist the power of the ubiquitous immortal formation. Wu Yu had been waiting for this moment for a long time. He had long known that as long as he came to this starry sky hell, he would definitely have a chance. He just didn't expect the opportunity to come so soon. Now is the best chance to save the Gumo camp. After all, the Guru Xuanhuan is being suppressed by the Blood-Robe Ghost King and has no time to care about other things. The Blood-Robe Ghost King is too crazy. He doesn't even want his own life at the beginning. He only has Tai Xiantian in his eyes. Because, even he doesn't have the Tegzu artifact. Wu Yu directly resisted the Gu Dishenjun. She was holding the ancient language magic flute. Because of the tearing of the immortal formation, she, like everyone else, was struggling alone. Not only did she have to face the tearing of the immortal formation, but she also had to face the impact of those desperate ghosts and gods. Wu Yu made his body smaller, approached her quickly and strangely, and appeared behind her. Now, Guru Xuanhuan had not expected that he would be so bold, and Gu Dishenjun himself was frightened by the ghosts and gods, and was very flustered. His moves were no longer at the same level as before. Facing the desperate rush of hundreds of ghosts and gods, as well as the attacks of several immortal formations, his face was pale and he was already powerless. Even if Wu Yu did not take action, if she still did not adapt, it would probably be very dangerous. Although her opponent was not too strong, the current situation was unprecedented for her and was really scary. Guyan Shenjun in the distance performed much better than her. Kill her. This woman should be given to the sect master. Immortal women are so beautiful. Give her to the sect master. There will definitely be a big reward. That's right, after the sect master has enjoyed her, maybe he will give her to us. Such a fairy is so rare, don't kill her, don't let her die, our sect will enjoy her for a long time. Haha. Hearing these shameless words, the ancient flute god almost fainted. She started to curse at the other party, but she was really not as good as the ghosts and gods in this aspect, which only made her more angry. Moreover, for her, the fairy formation would pull her and her companions further and further away, which would only make it more dangerous. She could only pray that the ancient rubbing god could kill the ghost king before they collapsed. She had no idea that Wu Yu had already come behind her. He had just killed a ghost god and swallowed it, and now he looked like an ordinary ghost god. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1400. It can be said that when encountering such an ambush, the 20 ancient giant spirit gods were particularly depressed and irritable. Many of them, regardless of whether it would attract more attention, used the giant spirit transformation to reveal their true form. Of course, the combat power is stronger, but in such a fairy formation environment, the constraints will be greater, and the ghosts and gods attack like locusts, and the target of attack is larger. The ancient flute god is one of the people who has not transformed into her true form, but she is also in a lot of troubles. After all, she is a beautiful woman, and she has the most people eyeing her. Amidst countless attacks, Wu Yu was right behind the ancient flute god. He was mixed in with the group of ghosts and gods, just an ordinary member, and no one noticed his special existence at all. Wu Yu mainly looked at the ancient Holmium Divine Lord. When he saw that the ancient Holmium Divine Lord was suppressed by the blood-robed Ghost King because he was not used to it, he knew that the opportunity had come. The ancient flute god was playing the ancient magic flute, and what was emitted was not music, but some harsh sounds, condensed into countless sharp weapons, which exploded in all directions, piercing through many ghosts and gods, leaving corpses everywhere for a while. In fact, in terms of their strength, Banyi is stronger than the blood demon sect, but they are just trapped in a trap, so they are so passive at this time. In the magic flute of ancient proverbs, Gu Mo camp is still there. Wu Yu found this moment and was mixed in the group of ghosts and gods. At this time, behind the ancient flute god, his eyes suddenly flashed with mysterious symbols. His fiery eyes had long been cultivated to a more advanced state, and now he had the opportunity to use them. The melting pot of gold and fire, heaven and earth. The furnace of heaven, like fiery red fire clouds, quickly condensed on the head of the ancient flute god, while the furnace of earth, like a volcano, gathered and erupted under his feet, and the surging heat spread out in an instant, sweeping everywhere. But the ancient flute god regarded this sudden double change as the ghosts and gods triggering a new fairy formation. After all, she had fought against the fairy formation with bloody flames before. Little tricks. The ancient flute god cursed angrily, but didn't pay much attention to it. She was facing the impact of many ghosts and gods, as well as the bombardment of other immortal formations. At this time, the furnace of heaven and the furnace of earth showed terrifying power. Suddenly, they connected together and enveloped the ancient flute god. They suppressed them from top to bottom. Countless golden flames were rotating, and the ancient flute god was suppressed. Devouring may seem simple, but when these two melting pots merge into the melting pot of heaven and earth, it becomes a majestic world of flames. The ancient flute god was shocked and found that the surrounding ghosts, gods, and immortal formations had disappeared. She was surrounded by endless, raging burning flames, filling the boundless world. She was trapped in the furnace of heaven and earth, and today the furnace of heaven and earth was compressed. The flames of the entire world were squeezing towards her. Ah, she screamed in pain when she was burned by the flames, but it was useless. Wu Yu prepared for a long time, and exploded with one move. The furnace of gold and fire, heaven and earth, instantly engulfed the ancient flute god, and then quickly compressed, in front of everyone in front of my eyes. The ancient flute god was suppressed into a tiny golden dot, and it seemed to have disappeared. Even the surrounding ghosts and gods were confused for a while. Most of them didn't even know where the ancient flute god had gone. Break. The compression of the golden fire heaven and earth furnace reaches the extreme, endless world, endless flames, and then compressed to an infinitesimal level. Wu Yu's current world power is quite majestic, and his magical powers are also terrifying. This caused the ancient flute god to be in shock. Completely engulfed in rage. Who? She finally knew that someone was attacking her, but even if she was anxious to transform into her own body at this time and wanted to use the giant spirit transformation to expand the world of the flame furnace, it was too late. When it was compressed to the extreme, there was a concussive explosion, almost blowing it into powder. "Young master, save me," the ancient flute goddess screamed piercingly. When she reappeared, most of her flesh and blood body was destroyed. It was so horrible that almost only the immortal god was left intact. As long as she was given time, she could still survive. She looked at the greedy eyes of the surrounding ghosts and gods, and then saw that those immortal formations and their attacks had reoppressed her, and her heart was completely broken. She regretted coming here. What the hell is this place? These ghosts and gods are just like animals. Suddenly, she saw a pair of terrifying eyes among the ghosts and gods. She finally understood that the killing move that almost killed her just now came from this person, and he was mixed among the ghosts and gods. You. She didn't recognize who it was, but just felt a sense of fear. At this time, she had almost no strength to fight back, and Wu Yu appeared in front of her almost instantly, with a sword in his hand, suddenly piercing him. Death. Wu Yu used that moment to intercept and kill him with the immortal killing formation. Chifeng Immortal Lord. The ancient flute god finally recognized him. Of course, Wu Yu still looked like a ghost, but at this moment, she recognized him. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Wu Yu's immortal killing formation with the floating sword was so fast and accurate that it directly tore apart the immortal god, causing the ancient flute god to suddenly disappear in despair. Before she died, she was still preparing to use the ancient sayings. The Gu-Mo camp inside the magic flute came out to protect itself. After all, that was Wu Yu's handle. But Wu Yu was faster than her. He had no choice. The ancient flute god must die, otherwise the 8 people from Gu-Mo camp would die. Young master. At the last moment, the scream of the ancient flute god suddenly stopped, and Wu Yu turned into a thick black mist, instantly engulfing the ancient flute god. He needed to control the ancient magic flute to release everyone in the ancient Mo camp safely. Now that they could not care about how the 8 people in Gumoying would face the threat of the ancient giant spirit clan after they went out, Wu Yu could only protect them now and not let them lose their lives because of him. The ancient language magic flute had been quickly put into the floating life tower by him, and the ancient flute god was temporarily swallowed by him. He had not digested it yet. His goal had been achieved. As long as Gumoying was fine, Wu Yu was not afraid of the ancient flute god and others, no matter how strong the ancient flute god was. However, the moment after he got all this done, Wu Yu felt the breath of death. Chifeng Immortal Lord! You dare to kill Gu Di! Suddenly, a thunderous roar shook Wu Yu's head. It turned out that the ancient flute god saw the scene here. He didn't expect him to be so furious and crazy. Wu Yu had basically never seen him so violent. At this time, the ancient god, with black flames in his eyes, suddenly got rid of the blood-robed Ghost King and rushed towards Wu Yu. He was so fast that the Taixuanation in his hand hit the void, and suddenly exploded with thousands of feet of light, forming a strong energy, and shot towards Wu Yu. This is an attack at the level of the Immortal King, with huge lethality. In this instant, Wu Yu faced such a terrible attack, and he could only avoid its edge. Now he was no match for it. After he got it done, he directly used the somersault cloud and fled far away. However, in the last moment of the somersault cloud, Wu Yu's body was still hit by one of the rays of light. Suddenly, his whole body was torn apart with pain, and one of his thighs was torn by the light. The opponent's surging lethality rushed along the body towards Wu Yu's immortal formation, trying to kill Wu Yu quickly. Suppress. Inside his body, Wu Yu still had the mighty power of the world. His body was much stronger than that of the ancient giant spirits. At this time, the opponent's power could not enter. After a quarter of an hour, it was expelled from Wu Yu's body. During this quarter of an hour, Wu Yu continued to move farther away until he could no longer see the position of the star. In the starry sky, Wu Yu recovered from his physical injuries while expelling the killing power from the ancient Ru Shenjun. You are really worthy of being the son of the giant spirit. The inheritance of cultivation is probably not much worse than mine. Although he is only a 9-world immortal, he can fight against the immortal king. If I hadn't escaped in time, I'm afraid I might have died in his hands. Wu Yu was a little scared. He felt the power of the other party's immortal king level very clearly. But he finally took advantage of the chaos to complete his goal and rescued Gumoying and the others. He stayed here now, and there was no one around for thousands of miles. He gradually digested the ancient flute god. The ancient flute god was no longer of much help to Wu Yu. He devoured it mainly to release the people of the ancient Mo camp from the ancient language magic flute. This did not take long for Wu Yu. Soon Wu Yu gradually digested the memory of the ancient flute god. It turned out that the ancient flute god also had a great background. His parents were of higher status than the parents of the ancient Jiang god. They were both in the 9th level of the Taixu fairyland and were the pillars of the ancient giant spirit clan. The ancient flute god was also equivalent to the little princess of the ancient giant spirit clan. No wonder I killed her and the ancient Ruo god was so angry. It turned out that she was his mistress. In fact, the two had a relationship when they were very young. Over the years, it had happened countless times. The ancient flute god certainly wanted to be his Taoist partner. After all, they had been husband and wife for a long time, but it seemed that the ancient Ruo god looked down on her and did not give her an answer. But after all, Guruo Shenjun is the young master, so she has no choice but to stay by his side and strive to become his real Taoist partner one day. Even if Guruo Shenjun has a bigger goal like Mouji, for him, Gu Di Shenjun is also his woman. It seems that the hatred between him and me has been formally formed, but I am afraid that this can't be done. Many things are beyond Wu Yu's control. If she doesn't kill Gu Dishenjun, she will kill Gu Moying when Wu Yu makes trouble, and she will not be polite. Wu Yu finally controlled the ancient language magic flute and released the people in Gu Moying. Most of them were seriously injured and looked haggard. You killed Gu Dishenjun, which is considered to be a feud with the ancient giant spirit clan. It will be very troublesome in the future, Su Zidong sighed. I'm sorry for causing trouble to all my brothers and sisters. Wu Yu was very sorry. After 100 years of Taixu Immortal Road, he could escape, but Gu Moying and others would be in trouble unless they hid well.